and I vow to give you every glory. In Jesus' name, you may be seated. Give him a big hand. Praise the Lord. Sustaining impact in ministry through 3 C's. I call them the 3 C's: character, capacity, and consistency. Sustaining impact in ministry through character, capacity, and consistency. The 3 C's. It's possible to sustain impact in ministry through the help of God. He said, with God, all things are possible. He didn't say to God. He didn't say for God. He said with God. That means I have a part to play, you have a part to play. If he had said for God or to God, means he has all the responsibility. But he said with God. That means you and I will do our path. Every time we're asking God to do something, he gives you an instruction. The instruction leads to your miracle. They said they wanted wine. He said, put water. Moses, you want to cross? You do your path, stretch for the staff. I do my path by clearing the water. As ministers of the gospel, we have a part to play. And I'll be sharing with all the 3 C's that can help you sustain impact in ministry. And the number 1 is character. H1, character is what you are in the dark when nobody is supervising you. You find out that under supervision, it's easy for you to behave. For instance, you're working under our father now is because he supervises you behave. But what if when you're on your own? You see someone work under him, discipline, and leave the place in discipline. That means at no time did the person have character. Character is who you are when no one is supervising you. Character is the will to do the right thing even when it is hard. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, 19 to 21, he said, nevertheless, the foundation of God stand sure, having this seed. The Lord knoweth them that are his, and let everyone that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity. Until you depart, you can never be impacted. But in a great house, there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but of gold and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. He said, if a man therefore purge himself, so you and I have to do the purging. He said, then it shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified, fit for the master's use. Your future in ministry is a function of your character. He said, let your light so shine before men, not only before God, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. He said, either make the tree good and its fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and the fruit corrupt, for the tree is known by its fruit. Matthew 12:33. Impact in ministry will be sustained when you make decision not to sacrifice your principles and values on the altar of compromise. Look at the man Joseph. We all know his story. He was a slave, imprisoned in a strange land, but character of integrity made him to become a prime minister. Character distinguished him. No matter what temptation you're passing through, your character will distinguish you. While I was asked to teach, I began to ask God, what do I teach? Because I didn't come, I came to hear. And he said, teach the things you have passed through and have testimony. Now all of you, there's no minister who said, did not know what happened last year. 316 blogs carried a fake story of a frame-up on the internet. They put a woman's picture and put my picture, put another person, and said, that woman, I bought a Range Rover, and you all know the story became a global story. But in the midst of the crisis, the church grew. Because no one believed what they said. It was a frame-up. And the same woman who wrote it, this year, January, came to the church and said, whatever she said was a lie. And that she was not paid by the church to say it. It's on the internet. Now, when you are in crisis, is when people will know whether you're a man of character. Character is only exhibited when challenges come, and the world will know whether what you're saying and what you do, because people will know you when you have challenge. So every minister of the gospel, when men accuse you, live so well that no one will believe them. Our father here, we all know that people have written all manner of things against him, but it has never affected his personality. And character is not a gift. You consciously build it. Charisma without character is disaster. He said, "On the fountain sent forth at the same place sweet water and bitter." He said, "Can a fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries?" That is James chapter 3, 11 and 12. Now, sustaining impact in ministry is to think, act, or behave generational. You have to think, you have to act, you have to behave based on where you're going to. And I will share some of them. Sustaining part of ministry demands: 1, you walk in the fear of God, understand the law of seed time and harvest, if you want to walk in character. Because we are ministers of the gospel. B, give people a sense of purpose, direction, and mission as a minister. C, develop the talents, gifts, and abilities in others by investing in them. D, live to maintain a good name without blemish. Let me say this to you. If today we call Adolfus Hitler without anything, does something strike your mind? Without anything, just say Adolfus Hitler, Adolf Hitler. Something strikes your mind? When they say David in the Bible, does something strike your mind? When they say Ronaldo, does something strike your mind? When they say David Oyedepo, does something strike your mind? Let me ask you a question. When they call your name, what strikes people's mind? Every time your name is called, something strikes. You don't need to introduce yourself. That's who you are. E, be conscious of passing down godly values. F, be sacrificial in your approach to life. These are things about character. G, live for God and the benefit of humanity. H, be focused for generational gains more than short-term personal gratifications. And I, be heaven conscious. That way you can maintain character. Because if you're not heaven conscious and you think everything ends here, it's easy for you to go astray. But none of us will go astray. Impact in ministry can only be sustained when we change our values and choices for the better. Yesterday we had so much. You have to change your values and choices. Why are you there? Is it just to make money or to affect lives? Your values and choices determine how far you go. Number 2. The second C, number 2, is capacity. Capacity is the ability to receive or contain a thing. Looking at Matthew 25, we don't need to read 14 to 29, the parable of the talents. Now, if you look at that, you find out that Jesus gave a parable. He gave 1 5, 2 1. He looked at their capacity. I was studying, I said, why did he give somebody 5 and give somebody 2 and give somebody 1? He knew their capacity before he gave them the talents. He knew that that man had capacity for 5. Them had capacity for 2. Them had capacity for 1. The container and the content. God, you are the container, then God fills the content. He will never point to you what you cannot carry. So if you want impact, you are saying, oh God, grow the ministry. He will look at your size and say, no, if I give him 5,000 people, he will destroy them. So he sends you 500 people because that's the capacity you can carry. No matter how you pray. No system can grow beyond the leader. This church, Living Faith, is growing because of our Father. If it stops growing, the system will stop growing. If it says, I want to get a result like him, then be ready to grow like him. Because if God gives you the kind of thing he gave to him, you will die in 1 week. Because your capacity will not be able to carry it. So you have the responsibility to grow your capacity, not God. If you want impact, it's you and I, our responsibility. I'll share a story with you. I've said it last year, but I'll repeat it again. When we started, we had 10,000 first-timers visited the church, but we were able to keep 1,000. So I went back, I said, God, how can 10,000 people come and we were able to keep only 1,000 people in the church? Then in my curiosity, while I was asking the Holy Ghost, he said, turn. I had a book on top of my bed by Young Cho, Successful Home Sale, but I didn't read it. No, we can buy books, pastors, and most of we don't read. So there's not many books to buy. He said, read this book. And when I read the book, he said, you don't have a home sale system, so there's no way to preserve the souls. He said, the souls are coming and going because your home sale system is very porous. So the moment I had a structure on the home sale, church began to grow stable. Now hear this and hear me well. God will only increase you based on how you increase your own capacity. Something happened, and books are coming out every day. I mean, if you find out every day books are coming out, you have to read and be sincere to yourself. If you have to read at the normal pace they taught us in school, you will not be able to finish 2 books in a week. True? Are you going to upset now? You carry a book by a father now on faith, and you say you want to digest it. It will take a week, the normal way of reading. And the way books are coming out, I said, you have to read. So I told myself, how do you have to read? To finish all these books. You can't be buying books and fill your library. They are not for decoration. They are for reading. And I saw a man opened a book I gave to him. In 30 minutes, he summarized the book. I said, how did this man summarize this book? He didn't tell me the secret. So I said, for this man to summarize the whole book in 30 minutes, and he was telling me everything I wrote in the book. He said, this, chapter 1, you read this, chapter 2, you read it. He was flipping it. Chapter 3, I said, okay. So in my very together, he did speed reading. So I said, if I have to increase my capacity, then I must go to do speed reading. So I traveled outside the country 3 years ago, and this speed reading on my own. I don't care how much it cost me. It cost me some 7 figures. But I said, I wanted to read fast. From that time, I can read a book and understand it, because in school, they taught us wrongly. So you have to consciously improve your capacity. Now, how to develop capacity? A, change your thinking pattern. Change your thinking pattern. So as a man thinking in his house, so you see, stop thinking local, start thinking global. No man can increase capacity when all his thought is within the environment where he is. He said, if thou can believe, all things are possible to him that believeth, Mark 9:23. And from where thou art, look up to where you want to get to. B, personal development. Personal development. In John chapter 7, verse 15, it says, and the Jews marveled, saying, how knoweth this man letters, having never learned? How come Jesus understood these things? He developed himself. He says, study to show yourself approved. 2 Timothy 2:15. Don't assume knowledge, acquire it. C, walk with wise people. That was talked so much, I won't dwell so much on that. If you want to increase your capacity, the kind of people you walk with determines what will walk around you. You can't have a 16/20 dream and walk with somebody with 4/6 dream. He will destroy your dream. If your dream is 16/20 and then the man walking with you is 4/6, you know how dangerous it will be. Because every relationship either adds to you or takes something from you. Is that walking with the wise shall be wise. A companion of food shall be destroyed. That will not be our portion. Proverbs 13:20. And iron sharpeneth iron. Proverbs 27:17. Wood can never sharpen iron. And D, believe in excellence. Believe in, if you want to increase your capacity, believe in excellence. Don't settle for mediocrity. He said, that shall be above only. Deuteronomy 28:13. So there's no provision for average. Yesterday, we heard the great man of God said, average is good and bad mixed together. So if you're average, you know how dangerous it is. Refuse to be average. Well, I will rest more on the third one. That's why I'm a bit fast. But the third one is where I will dwell more. But that's where I think we have more testimonies than any other place. Consistency. Number 3. I'll take my time there. I'm not rushing again. Consistency is the steadfast adherence to principles, cause, or form. In James chapter 1 and verse 25, it said, whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continued therein, he be not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man is blessed in his deed. Continuity, consistency. Many of us start the things we hear, but we don't continue. Hear this truth, that you came for a good ministers' conference does not mean you succeed. You can copy all the note and yet note nothing. You can even preach it and not get results. He said, the man that hears and continues what he heard is the man that will have results. And once you have results, insults will stop. I will share 2 areas because I may not be able to take all those 2 areas. I will dwell on a continuity because we're here, we're all blessed. A, in followership. In Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 12, it said that ye be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherited promises. If someone is not inspiring you, you will soon expire. It's not enough to say, oh, that's my mentor, that's my father. To follow simply means to take the steps of the person. Following somebody is not coming for his meetings. If you are not taking his steps, you are not following a man. Now, for instance, he says to all of us, I can't quarrel with my wife. I can't divorce my wife. And you're under this kind of family and you're talking about divorcing your wife. You're not following the man. Because that's not the steps of the man you're following. It's not enough to just, I observe him. I only ask him questions. Since I knew him, it's only once I've asked him questions. You won't believe. We're on the dining table and he came and talked. I've never asked him a question. 99 is by observation. I've eaten his books. I can tell you, if you bring any of his books, I'll tell you page 87 where it is written. I don't read them, I eat them. I listen to his tapes every day because a mentor you don't listen to, you may suffer in the hands of tormentors. I listen to him every day because that's the way. I can't be asking questions. So from his messages, I hear what he wants to say. Till today, I have all his messages. I have 3,000 plus. When it was audio, I had 2,000 plus. Right now, it's the CDs. I have 3,000 plus. I buy it. I don't need to tell you how I buy it. Whether I'm here or not, they bring it to me. You can't say you are following somebody and you don't know what the man has in heart. I started coming for Shiloh in 1999, and I've not missed any Shiloh to date. The first Shiloh, my wife and I trekked from here to Sangota. There was no bus the first day. So I didn't get here by luck. If you say you are following somebody, then follow him. Watch him. How? You cannot make impact. It's making impact. And we have advantage because if you follow a person, he has already done most things. So you should be faster than whatever he did. Because he has told you these things I did. So we stand on the shoulder. God has a great thing. You will see brighter. So what took him 10 years, by right, should take you 7 years. Because he has told you this is what I did. I read 5 chapters a day. You read, I'm just giving an instance. You read. That means that if you do what he did, then you should get a fast result. Because he has discovered it. So anybody under him failing, you have a problem. That's the truth. You may not like it, but that's the truth. If you fail under this man, there's no way you'll succeed. It's like a child having third class in Covenant University. Which school will you have first class then? And I pray that our coming here will not just be to take notes. is to go home with something. In Jesus' mighty name. B is covenant practices. You know why I'm dwelling on this one? An average pastor you ask here, even if he pretends, has money challenge. Don't pretend. Ministry without money, you will, the ministry, no matter you are, be anointed without prosperity, you end up in annoyance. Now, when the privilege I had is that when I became born again, where I gave my life, I just met him. So I didn't have any other foundation, I just met him. The first time I met him, he was putting his hand in his pocket like that, and said, I can never be poor. I said, can someone talk like this? He did like this, I can never beg. Have I begged any of you before? Nothing can make me beg. And where I was coming from, it's not like that. And then while he was talking, he said, I read a book by Gloria Copeland, and it brought me out of poverty. I said, this man has said his secret. When we were in Bible school, he taught us prosperity, and then somebody took over the lesson. If somebody like him teach you prosperity, should you fail again? It is not what somebody teaches you that will make you successful. It is your personal revelation. Because you can't use another man's headlamp to drive your car. So when I heard him said, I read Copeland's book. After Bible school, we are taught all it is in Bible school, but I was still not getting money the way it should come. It will come and stop, come and stop. I said, no, there's something I have not known. I wanted a ceaseless flow. So I picked the same book with his book, Breaking Financial Hardship. And for 7 days, I fasted. I didn't fast against poverty. I was fasting for light. I said, Lord, show me the secret of kingdom wealth. What you showed him revealed to me. And while I was reading, I stopped reading. Everything ended. I was on the bed. I put my head like that. I said, God, tell me the secret. And a voice came, which was, who is blessing you? I said, of course, he said, if the man is blessing you, then without contradiction, the less blessed is better. Until you tap into his grace, you can never prosper. My first seed was 50 naira as a married man. So it's not how much you start with, it's how faithful and consistent. I didn't see him. I knew him, I started following 995. My first meeting him one-on-one was 2000. So you don't have to meet the person for the grace to answer. I won't tell you details. It's not necessary, man. You to go and discover your own. So be consistent. Be what? In everything. But I will narrow it to this area because that's where I've gotten unusual insight. Many of us, we are in ministry, don't pay tithe. We are the Melchizedeks. We collect. We don't pay. You be consistent in your own tithing. You be consistent in the ministry tithing. We are 120 that left class, it taught 1996. But I can tell you, I don't think anybody's consistent. So the difference is clear. You must be consistent. It's not doing it for 1 year. After we leave ministers' conference now, you start saying, look ahead. You know, if you're excited and you're not affected, you end up being afflicted. It's not excitement. Oh, the kind of things I've heard, soul winning. Now, he told you soul winning. Are you going to be consistent in doing them? It's not living here and copying notes and then after 1 week, you go for evangelism. The next week, you say, boy, I'm tired. Me, I've increased my own because after he said it, I said I've increased it. The one I was doing, I was joking. Now, I have to increase. You must be consistent in tithing and you must be a generous giver. A generous what? Giver. Your personal tithe and ministry tithe. The first ministry tithe we paid April 1997 was 700 naira. So it is not where you're starting from. 1999, something happened. Because I'm going to say this because most time we expect him to give us money. Sincerely speaking, I guess people get angry. So look, that man is rich, he has not given me money. I'll be laughing. I say, excuse me, he should give you money. You don't know that you don't know the Bible? 1999, our landlord gave us a quit notice and said we should move from where we are to a new place. And Faith Tabernacle was being built. I knew the principle of prosperity. So I knew when a seed in your hand is not enough to meet the purpose, is then, so that when the money in your hand is not enough to meet your purpose, the seed. So I said, we had 1.6 in the account. And already the rent was high. And I said, since they are building the Faith Tabernacle, it means that is where we should drop our seed, since that's the type we want. So I said to my wife, I said, look, we'll take 600,000 and sow it into a Faith Tabernacle. I didn't meet nobody. So you don't have to meet him to lay hands on you. No, it doesn't work like that. It's your heart. The moment I dropped the seed and came back to Port Harcourt, dropped the seed on Tuesday, somebody walked to us and said, there's a property in the next street. Can we have it? Now, if we never dropped that seed, heavens would have opened. So every time you're at the crossroad, tap into the higher vessel. We are to buy where God is building his church now. We are to buy the land, and that time, the money inside was not enough to pay for the whole land. And I said, God, what do we do? He said, that time, give 100 million as a seed to the type you want. And heavens open, and we'll pay the entire money in 2 weeks. Well, he said, this is our church. I will share my own testimony also. I've heard him tell me how he does things, he will give. I said, I don't need to ask anybody. One day I said, Lord, I was listening to one of his messages, and he said, if you don't have a heart for God, forget it. You won't go find this kingdom. I listen to him. When I listen to him, I don't listen to anytime my wife knows, when I'm listening to him, it's like a walk. I take note. If you watch me, you think I'm preaching like him. It's impartation. One day I was listening to my message, I said, it's not Papa talking, they say it's me talking. I said, are you sure? They say, yes. You don't have to imitate somebody. When it connects, it shows. And I was just there, and a voice said to me, 2012, give me $1 million. Only me heard God. Every time you have given, it's not the devil. Satan will never tell you to give. Once you hear giving, it's God. Because money is the only thing that competes with God. It's not the devil. We have many prayer warriors. It's only the giving part we have not been able to war. And then I had no personal house. And I smiled. I said, God, I'll give. I didn't discuss with my wife. No offering in church. No money was raised in church. I went to Sunday and I gave $1 million. Present rate is 365 million naira in one service. Didn't tell nobody. So when the accountant saw it, he said, sir, I saw the heavy offering you brought. I shared a testimony a year after. My wife heard it a year after. Then I had no house. I know I don't have a house now. So then I had no house. $1 million can buy me any house anywhere in the world. Last year, I looked at my record of giving. I gave personal money, 421 million naira for scholarship. No church money. Why? I'm going somewhere. I'm not just giving those testimony. Why? Do you want to really prosper as a minister? Do I tell you the truth? Do I tell you the truth? I won't go deep. 2 Chronicles 20:20. You read it. Believe the Lord your God. Believe what? So shall he. Without a prophet, there will be no profit. I stop there. You to go and find out your secret. Because that's the area. Everything we do, we pray, we fast, we do everything. But when it comes to the money side, ministers struggle. There's so much struggle. And I wonder, is it the area that I've never had stress? The least area I don't have stress is this area. At all. It's not an issue. But you cannot walk with his own revelation. That's where I'm going. You have to have your personal revelation. In every area, you must go for your light to gain flight. If he says church is growing, find out the secret. How is he doing it? You don't need to ask him questions. Just observe him from his books, from his teachings. There's no way he wouldn't have said in one tape. Is there anything I heard from us? He told us everything that he goes out for evangelism. Is there anything you want to hear again? But be consistent. Be what? Consistent. Then you see the results. You don't be leaping. You will see the result. You will see duplication of grace. Just see it. And when your heart is pure, because if you're doing it with the wrong heart, forget it. If you're doing it with the heart of competition, you will struggle. Make sure your heart is pure, because your heart matters a lot. And when your heart is pure, sweatlessly you succeed. You will succeed. It's not how many hands he lays on you. It's how many prophecies. Once your heart, I will share a testimony I will never forget. 1997, a madman came. Medical doctor was mad in 2004 then. We were living in Victoria Island before we left for Port Harcourt. This man had a psychiatric problem. And they brought him to our house because the house, the security officer was living. And it was very violent my mental case. And I came out of the bedroom, and he said, I know you. I know you. You are the developer. I didn't know myself. He said, I've read your book, Keys to Divine Health. He began to talk in his mad state. So I told my wife, I said, so in the spirit, I'm carrying this man. That I've not met Papa one-on-one. I said, so I'm carrying this man that the devil knows that I'm not myself. I've not reached this level. I said, okay. From that time, my perspective changed. That's why I said, your mindset has to change. When you're reading the books, don't read them to preach. Read them to affect your life. I've never read the books for preaching. I read them to transform myself first before I speak them to people. Let me close on this note. John 13:17. It's not how long I preach. I want you to go with something. John 13:17. If you know these things, happy are ye. If you write them, if you preach them, if you do them. All the things, many people preach more, yet their results don't match the preaching. You see, it's not how long you preach. Sometimes somebody told me, say, we don't know what you preach, yet people come to this church. I say, you know why? You can display scriptures and not get results. Let me give you a practical illustration and that will end it. If you preach giving, all is scripture on giving, and somebody who is a giver comes up to take offering, who will they give more for? You are preaching giving, and you come and say, look, give, it shall be given to you. Good measure, pressed down. You quote all the scriptures. I say, now raise your hands and give offering. They may not give anything. But a man who is a giver, just come for God so loved the world, not give. You'll be surprised the response. Because what you live, that's our Father, impacts people. In Shiloh here one time, somebody raised an offering. I learned from every observation. The man called people, no, but people didn't get up. And our Father just came, didn't talk much, everybody stood up. I said, okay, this one knows the scriptures, but don't do it. He does it. My life is observation. So don't preach all the things you have heard here. In fact, none of us should go and set display. First and foremost, the things you began to go back. I said, do I go for evangelism? If we are not going for evangelism, then start. He has a father so winning. Do I do all these things he's talking? If I don't do them, then in fact, the whole thing should be decision. Should be decision number 1. I don't go for soul winning. Decision number 2, I'm too stingy. Decision number 3, I read to preach. Decision number 4, then your results will show. So when we come for next International Ministers Conference, our testimonies will be much. And God will bless us. Rise to your feet. All that you've heard, receive grace to do them. That's all. Lift up your voice and pray to God that you will do them. Give thanks to Him for His word.